The afternoon sun streamed through the silk curtains of the Okafor residence, casting golden shadows across Efeoma's flawless dark skin. As she adjusted the emerald green off-shoulder dress that hugged her curves perfectly, her mother, Adanna, paced the marble floors in her elegant navy blazer and pencil skirt, her phone pressed to her ear in yet another heated conversation with her best friend, Kemi. "That woman thinks she knows everything about raising children," Adanna declared, her voice echoing through their luxurious living room. "Just because Tajudeen graduated top of his class doesn't mean," Efeoma rolled her eyes, her full lips curving into a knowing smile. The arguments between their mothers were legendary, passionate, dramatic, and ultimately meaningless. Behind all the shouting and accusations lay a friendship deeper than blood, forged through decades of shared secrets, late-night phone calls, and unwavering loyalty. "Mama, you know Aunt Kemi only said that because she cares," Efeoma said softly, her voice like honey. At 22, she possessed a beauty that turned heads wherever she went, high cheekbones, expressive brown eyes framed by long lashes, and a grace that made even simple movements look choreographed. The front door burst open, and Tajudeen strode in without knocking, as he had done since childhood. At 25, he was devastatingly handsome, tall and broad-shouldered, with sharp features and intense dark eyes that seemed to see right through people. His black tailored suit fit him like it was made by angels, and his confident stride commanded attention. "Let me guess," he said, his deep voice carrying a hint of amusement. "Our mothers are fighting about whether Nigerian jollof or Ghanaian jollof is superior." Efeoma laughed, the sound musical and bright. "Close. This time it's about whether I should wear my hair natural or relaxed to the Adamala's party next week." Tajudeen's eyes swept over her appreciatively, taking in every detail of her appearance with an intensity that made her heart skip. "You're beautiful either way, Efeoma, though I prefer when you wear it in those wild curls that drive you crazy." She felt her cheeks warm under his gaze. Since her father's death when she was 16, Tajudeen had become her protector, her confidant, her anchor in every storm. He never asked for anything in return, never made her feel like a burden. He simply showed up, reliable as sunrise, handsome as sin, and completely off-limits because of their family's friendship. "You spoil me too much," she murmured, adjusting the delicate gold necklace at her throat. "Someone has to," he replied, his voice softening. "Your mother means well, but she's too busy arguing with mine to notice when you need taking care of." As if summoned by his words, Adanna appeared in the doorway, her argument finally concluded. "Tajudeen, darling, that impossible mother of yours hung up on me again. Can you believe the audacity?" Tajudeen grinned, that devastating smile that made women weak in the knees. "I'm sure you deserved it, Aunt Adanna. What did you say this time?" The banter continued, filled with affection disguised as irritation, love masked by complaints. But Efeoma noticed the way Tajudeen's eyes kept finding hers across the room, the way his smile became more genuine when their gazes met. She noticed, and her heart ached with the weight of feelings she could never voice. 3 months later, Efeoma sat in the ivory silk dress her mother had chosen, her hands folded in her lap as Adanna paced excitedly round their sitting room. The dress was beautiful, strapless and elegant, with delicate beading that caught the light, but Efeoma felt like she was wearing a costume for a play she never auditioned for. "Chibwaz Okwu is perfect for you, darling," Adanna gushed, her red lipstick perfectly applied despite her animated gesturing. She wore a stunning burgundy wrap dress that emphasized her still youthful figure. "He's successful, handsome, from a good family. His father owns 3 hotels in Lagos." Efeoma nodded mechanically, her throat tight with unspoken protests. She had seen Chibwaz twice, once at the initial meeting and once at dinner with both families. He was conventionally attractive with his clean-shaven face and expensive suits, but something about his smile never reached his eyes. Something about the way he looked at her made her skin crawl. "He'll provide well for you," Adanna continued, oblivious to her daughter's discomfort. "You'll never want for anything. Beautiful clothes, a big house, probably a driver, and housekeepers." "Mama," Efeoma interrupted gently. "What about love?" Adanna paused, her expression softening slightly. "Love will come, my dear. Your father and I learned to love each other deeply after we married. Respect and compatibility are more important than those foolish romantic notions." But Efeoma knew about love. She felt it every time Tajudeen walked into a room, every time he threw his head back and laughed at her jokes, every time he unconsciously touched her hand or shoulder in casual comfort. She knew about the way love could make your heart race and your breath catch, the way it could make you feel completely safe and utterly terrified at the same time. That evening, Tajudeen arrived to find her sitting on the balcony in a flowing, white sundress, staring out at the city lights. He looked magnificent in his casual navy shirt and dark jeans, his hair slightly tousled as if he'd been running his hands through it. "You look like you've lost your best friend," he said, settling beside her on the wrought iron bench. "Maybe I have," she whispered, not trusting her voice to remain steady. "The engagement?" he asked quietly. She nodded, unable to meet his eyes. "The ceremony is next month. Mama has already started planning the wedding for December." Tajudeen was silent for a long moment, his jaw clenched tightly. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough with suppressed emotion. "Are you happy?" The simple question broke something inside her. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she shook her head. "I can't tell her no, Tajudeen. She's sacrificed so much for me, worked so hard after Papa died. How can I break her heart by refusing the security she wants for me?" He turned to face her fully, his hands gently cupping her face and wiping away her tears with his thumbs. "Efeoma, you deserve so much more than security. You deserve passion, laughter, someone who sees how extraordinary you are." Their faces were inches apart, the air between them electric with years of unspoken longing. For a moment, she thought he might kiss her. For a moment, she wanted him to. Instead, he pulled back, his hands dropping to his sides. "I should go. Chibwaz is a lucky man." As he walked away, Efeoma felt her heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. She was going to marry a man she didn't love while the man she adored walked out of her life, bound by honor and family loyalty to let her go. 2 weeks before the engagement ceremony, Efeoma found herself alone in the house for the first time in months. Adanna had gone to the market with their housekeeper to select fabrics for the engagement decorations, leaving Efeoma in blissful solitude. She had chosen a simple but stunning coral-colored wrap dress that brought out the warm undertones in her skin, thinking she might spend the afternoon reading in the garden. She was arranging white roses in a crystal vase when the doorbell rang. Assuming her mother had forgotten something, she opened the door without checking, only to find Chibwaz standing there with a smile that made her stomach turn. "Chibwaz, what are you doing here?" she asked, instinctively stepping back. He was dressed impeccably as always, a crisp white shirt and charcoal slacks that emphasized his athletic build, but there was something different about his demeanor, something predatory in the way his eyes traveled over her body. "I wanted to see my beautiful fiancée," he said, stepping inside without invitation. "We're going to be married soon. I think it's time we got better acquainted. My mother will be back soon," Efeoma said quickly, backing toward the living room. "Perhaps you should wait for her. Actually, I saw her at the market. She'll be busy for hours." His smile widened, and Efeoma felt genuine fear creep up her spine. "That gives us plenty of time to talk." Before she could react, he had closed the distance between them, his hands gripping her waist possessively. "You're even more beautiful up close," he murmured, his breath hot against her ear. "Chibwaz, please." He silenced her protest with his mouth, forcing a kiss that tasted of cigarettes and entitlement. Efeoma pushed against his chest, panic rising in her throat. "Don't be shy," he said against her lips, his hands roaming where they had no right to be. "We're going to be married. There's nothing wrong with—" "No." Efeoma broke free, her voice shaking. "I don't want this, not before marriage. Please respect that." His expression darkened, the charming mask slipping completely. "Don't play games with me, Efeoma. You think you're too good for me? Your mother promised me a willing bride, not some frigid." She ran, her bare feet silent on the marble floors as she fled toward her bedroom, Chibwaz's angry curses echoing behind her. She slammed the door and turned the lock, her hands shaking. As she grabbed her phone without thinking, she dialed the number she knew by heart. Tajudeen. She sobbed when he answered. "Please help me. I'm on my way," he said immediately. "Lock yourself in and don't open the door for anyone but me." 15 minutes later, though it felt like hours, she heard Tajudeen's voice outside her room, followed by sounds of a struggle and Shibwaz's protests. Then silence, a gentle knock. "Efeoma. It's me. You're safe now." She opened the door to find Tajudeen standing there, magnificent and furious. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his black t-shirt slightly torn, and there was a cut on his lip. But his eyes were blazing with protective love and barely contained rage. "Did he hurt you?" he asked, his voice deadly quiet. She shook her head, throwing herself into his arms. He held her tightly, one hand stroking her hair while the other pressed her against his chest as if he could absorb her fear and pain. "He's gone," Tajudeen murmured into her hair. "He won't bother you again, I promise." When Adanna returned home that evening to find her daughter tear-stained, and Tajudeen pacing the living room like a caged lion, the truth came pouring out. Efeoma, still wearing her coral dress, but now wrinkled and stained with tears, sat curled in Tajudeen's protective embrace as he recounted what had happened. Adanna's face went through a spectrum of emotions: shock, horror, guilt, and finally, a mother's fierce protective rage. She looked stunning even in her fury, her emerald green blouse and black slacks immaculate despite her emotional turmoil. "That monster," she whispered, sinking into her leather armchair. "How did I not see? How did I almost give my daughter to a predator because you wanted to protect her?" Tajudeen said gently, his arm tightening around Efeoma. "You wanted to give her security. There's no shame in that." Efeoma looked up at him, this man who had dropped everything to save her, who held her with such tenderness while his jaw still bore the bruise from defending her honor. He was breathtaking in his rumpled clothes, his dark eyes soft with concern, and something deeper, something that made her heart race. "Mama," she said quietly, "I can't marry him. I won't marry anyone I don't love." "Of course not, darling. The engagement is off. I'll handle the families, the gossip, everything. You just focus on healing." But Efeoma wasn't finished. The near assault had stripped away her last reservations, her need to be the perfect, obedient daughter. Life was too short, too precious, to spend it living a lie. "I love someone else," she said, her voice growing stronger. "I've loved him for years, but I was too afraid to say anything because I thought it would complicate things between our families." Adanna's eyes widened. "Who, me?" Tajudeen said suddenly, his voice raw with emotion. "She loves me, and God help me, I love her more than my own life." The admission hung in the air like a prayer, a confession, a revolution. Efeoma turned in his arms to face him fully, her heart thundering as she saw her own feelings reflected in his eyes. "I've loved you since I was 18, he continued, his hands framing her face with infinite gentleness. "You were wearing that yellow sundress with the tiny flowers, laughing at something your mother said, and I realized that everything beautiful in the world paled in comparison to you. But I thought you deserved better than someone who would complicate your life. You are my life," Efeoma whispered, her fingers tracing the cut on his lip. "You've been taking care of my heart for years without even knowing you held it." When he kissed her, it was nothing like Shibwaz's assault. This was worship, reverence, the joining of two souls who had been dancing around each other for far too long. She melted into him, her coral dress a splash of color against his dark shirt, their love finally free to burn as brightly as it was meant to. "Well," Adanna said after a moment, her voice thick with tears and laughter, "I suppose Kemi is going to be insufferably smug about this. She always said you two would end up together." 6 months later, Efeoma walked down the aisle, in a gown that put royal weddings to shame, ivory silk with hand-sewn pearls and a train that seemed to float behind her like a cloud. Tajudeen waited at the altar in a midnight blue tuxedo that emphasized his devastating good looks, his eyes never leaving her face as she approached. Their marriage was everything their courtship had promised: passionate, chaotic, full of playful arguments and fierce love. They fought like thunderstorms and made up like poetry, their home filled with laughter, and the occasional flying pillow. When their debates got particularly heated, "You're impossible," Efeoma would declare. After one of their spirited discussions about everything from politics to the proper way to fold fitted sheets, her silk pajamas rumpled and her hair wild. "And you're magnificent," Tajudeen would reply, pulling her into his arms and kissing her until she forgot what they were arguing about. Their mothers still argued constantly, but now they had grandchildren to spoil and weddings to plan for Efeoma's younger cousins. The bond between the families had only grown stronger, sealed by a love story that proved sometimes the best things in life are worth waiting for. And late at night, when the chaos of the day settled into peaceful quiet, Efeoma would curl against Tajudeen's chest and marvel at how perfectly they fit together. Two souls who had found their home in each other's arms, their love a beautiful storm that would weather any season.